And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Space and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, April 14th, 8 EST, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. Exciting show tonight. We are going to be reviewing Drop, the new horror movie about airdrops, and as well as Warfare, the war memoir told from the memories of real soldiers. I'm excited for tonight. I say we jump right in, starting with our first review tonight. If I can find Drop. This is directed by Christopher Landon. You might know him from the director of the Happy Death Day films. He directed Freaky, the body swapping movie with Vince Vaughn. He's done a lot of these like new modern like trendy horror films. And this one is about a single mother played by Megan Fahey of the White Lotus fame, and she is about to go on her first date. In about a couple years, she is meeting someone that she has been talking with on dating apps. And when she gets to that date, she starts getting these weird airdrops, or as this movie calls them, digi-drops. And at first, she just sort of starts pushing them away. But then she realizes, oh, crud, there is someone at my kid's house with the babysitter that was supposed to be watching her. And if I do not do what this person says, my kid is going to die. Something I really love about Christopher Landon, the director of this film, someone I am a fairly big fan of when it comes to horror movies, is he is someone that takes these classic horror tropes. In something like Happy Death Day, it is a time loop. In a movie like Freaky, it's body swapping. And in Drop, you are taking the idea of being in a one location spot and trying to figure out who is the one that is trying to kill you, or in this case, kill someone important to you. But something that Christopher Landon does that I really love is he adds a lot of modern sensibilities. Like I have never seen, and I could be totally wrong. There could be tons of movies out there, but I've never seen a horror movie that uses a technology like airdrops in this way that makes it so uncomfortable. Like, the reason why, the main reason why this movie is so tense, because she's getting these airdrops. She has no idea who this is from. It could be anyone in this restaurant. There is a very quick establishing scene when they're at dinner where the person she's dating, Henry, does a full lap around the restaurant and realizes, well, the person that is sending you these drops has to be in the restaurant, so it can't be someone out in the parking lot or out in the lobby. So there's only a limited amount of people that you can find, but that only adds to the intensity of what's going on. It only adds to the tense nature. There are points where our lead character Violet wants to try and get help, but she keeps getting drops that say, "Hey, if you call the cops, your kid is going to die. If you try to notify someone, they are going to die." So, movie does a really great job at keeping the stakes up. This movie is a lot less comedic, in my opinion, than a lot of Christopher Landon's other movies. There is some comedy when it comes to watching Violet try to hide the fact that she's still getting threatened by this random stranger, and watching her date slowly get more and more confused. Like, does this woman really want to be going on this date? Is she really ready to be putting herself out there? And I found that to be very, very entertaining and led to this really, really thrilling film. The lead actress, Megan Fahey, I am a big White Lotus fan. I was a huge fan of her in that TV show. I haven't really seen her in movies, and I am so happy that Christopher Landon gave her this role to lead this horror movie, because she has the perfect amount of talent and movie star quality to keep you engaged throughout this whole movie. She does a really great job at playing fearful, but not panicking, and not in a super annoying way. This character is always afraid. This character is always on edge, because she knows if she makes one wrong move, It could be the death of her kid. But Megan Fox never plays her as like, oh, she's constantly hyperventilating or she's screaming all the time. She's someone that's always like fairly composed, but not to the point of like this person doesn't seem human. And I think a lot of that goes into the performance of our main actor. Everyone in this movie does a really good job. The person playing Henry, I'll try to find his name real fast, does a solid job at playing this sort of like this everyman role. The person playing her sister, who is babysitting her kid, does a really great job. Brandon Skellner plays Henry, and Violet Bean plays Jen, her sister. Both those characters do a really, really great job at sort of grounding the film, but it is Megan Fox who is given the most amount of energy to shine. Honestly, her performance in this reminds me of a movie I liked a little less than this, but I still think has a great performance in the center. Smile 2 from last year. I think Naomi Scott gave a lot of energy to that role, and Megan Fox gives a lot of really fun energy to this role as well. Something that I think this movie does a really, really great job at that I think we need to spotlight is the opening 30 minutes of this film. And this movie is not a long movie at all. It's like around an hour and it's like barely over an hour and a half. But I'd say the first 20, 30 minutes of this movie, watching Violet get to this restaurant for her first date, it does such a good and, in my opinion, like really funny job at establishing all these potential characters that she just so happens to run into. And every time you meet these characters, knowing what this movie's about, you know, okay, this can be the person that's going to start sending these drops. This can be the person that's going to start sending these drops. This can be the person. And I thought that was really fun. I feel like it was almost self-aware with the amount of people she started meeting. Like when she walks to the bar, she bumps into this guy who drops her phone, and the camera does a great job at focusing on that. When she gets to the bar, there are like two strangers there that she has to start talking to. The musician of the bar starts hitting on her. So all these people she starts interacting with help establish that when her life starts getting put in danger, it could genuinely be anyone, because the movie does a great job at naturally setting up all of these characters that it could possibly be. And I'll be honest, for a mystery film where you are kind of like trying to guess who it could be, I guessed wrong. I thought it was very clearly setting up someone who could have been the person that is trying to use her, but it ended up being someone else, and I applaud that. Anytime I'm watching a murder mystery, or not necessarily a murder mystery, but I guess just more of a mystery thriller in this case, because no one has been killed yet. But as you can hear, someone is in danger. Anytime it genuinely throws me for a loop, I really, really appreciate. And I think this movie does a good job at doing that. As the movie continues to go on, the stakes continue to rise and rise and rise. But for the most part, it genuinely doesn't feel forced. When you start realizing why this person is targeting Violet, and why and all the little things they're using to mentally manipulate Violet, the movie starts to get to have even more stakes as it goes on. Without spoiling too much, the character of Henry is involved, not necessarily in like illegal things, but maybe like slightly more serious things than Violet would have guessed. We know very early on that Henry is a photographer, and what he has been taking pictures of sort of comes into play during the movie. But I think the movie does a great job at, even though the stakes are getting higher, the number one thing you're focused on is, will Violet be okay, and will she be able to save her kid and her sister at home? And I think the movie does a great job of doing that. The one thing I will say is, I think the last 5 minutes of this film goes way too over the top for me. I don't want to spoil anything, but the movie gets a little bit action focused towards the end when everything starts going down, and I don't think Christopher Landon does a great job at directing this. I think it's actually a little poorly edited. Like this scene, like I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. All the scenes where it's just characters talking, where you're watching where you're watching Violet read these messages, read these texts, and telling her everything she needs to do, trying to figure out certain ways to outsmart it, and then see how that ends up backfiring. I think that's really fun. But when you finally get to the point where Violet is face to face with the villain of this film, and when everything starts going down, it starts getting a little too over the top, and it requires a little bit too much of a suspension of disbelief. Ending is still satisfying. I'm happy where it ends our characters, But I think that last final set piece did leave a little bit to be desired, and I think it could have been done. Definitely could have been done a little bit better. But overall, I think this movie just shows how effective a thriller can be when you're in the hands of someone that has a great needle on the thread of knowing what it takes to entertain audiences, knowing not to go too intense. Like there are certain movies like this that will go like super intense, that will really show like, no, your kid, like this kid is going to die. This kid is if Violet doesn't do anything right, she could die. And I could see some people being a little bit unattached to this movie because it's not like super intense like that. I think you know what type of movie you're going to be getting around 30 minutes into this film, but I still think it's just a really fun time and just a really entertaining watch personally. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being amazing, 10 being 0 being awful, 10 being amazing, I am going to give it a very good score of an 8 videotapes out of 10. I think this was a great thriller, really unique concept for a thriller that I haven't seen done before. Megan Foggy, excellent leading performance at the center. I could see her like. She could be our next big like female movie star. Like if she has this energy and she can translate into other sorts of movies, I would love to see her in more roles, because we've seen her give great work on TV, and now see her translate into movies is really, really fun. And yeah, I just think this is a really, really fun mystery. This is the movie that is so well suited for a theater. Go and see it with the biggest audience you can. My audience was pretty into the film, so it was really fun like watching everyone like react to all the new clues that Violet starts getting, or all the little twists and turns that the film takes. And I think that's really, really fun. But yeah, Drop gets a big recommendation for me. A really enjoyable film. But I say we head on to our second review, second movie for the night, second review as well. Warfare. This is directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. Ray Mendoza, I believe, was hired on to be the military supervisor, but he is credited as the co-director, along with Alex Garland, who has made several very good movies, in my opinion. Ex Machina, Annihilation. I'm the one weirdo that actually likes Men, and I also really like Civil War. This is his 5th directorial effort. Explaining this movie is a little complicated. This is a film that takes place in Iraq in 2006 during the war, and we are following a battalion of army soldiers as they are just on patrol, scouting these Iraqi soldiers. And around halfway through the movie, they are put on their toes, and they have to fight for their lives in order to get out of this situation. This is a really tough film to talk about because it almost kind of has no story. To describe every single beat of this film, and I'm not spoiling the movie here. The first 5 minutes, you see a scene of these soldiers watching this video. They're getting really into it. It's like this workout tape, and it's really fun. You're just watching them bond. Next like 40 minutes, you're just watching these soldiers like occupy this one house so they can view these so they can view the enemy. I believe they're terrorists. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to seem insensitive, but essentially view the enemy soldiers. And then the second half, and then the like last 45 minutes of this movie, again, a 90-minute film, so like not a long movie at all. You are watching these soldiers now gunshots break out, and they now have to defend for their lives in order to try and make it out of this situation alive. This might sound boring, and this might sound like, is this really that enjoyable? And this movie is definitely not like an enjoyable film by any means, but it is so effective in what I was watching. This has got to be. I always hate being one of these movie watchers that talk like this, because like I've never gone to war. I don't really know like what I'm talking about from a firsthand experience, but this feels like it could be one of the more realistic depictions of war I think I've ever seen, where a lot of it you are just watching these soldiers just sort of like have like casual, like not really casual talk, but might just say a few words to each other as they're just occupying this house, drinking water, like viewing the enemy. It's always tense. And then that last half, you are just watching these soldiers just fight for their lives. Many of them get injured, and they have to like put pressure on their injuries. Have to find some way to keep their lives and try not to go insane, try not to panic as they're on the brink of their death, and then eventually when they do get reinforcements, have to find a way to escape. This is a harrowing film. This is an uncomfortable film, but it is so effective. Shout out to both directors. Alex Garland is someone who knows how to make you feel uncomfortable in movies. I think he takes the battle scenes from Civil War and essentially just distills that into one movie. Like, talking about the characters in this film is kind of tough. Like, they do refer to each other by name, but you aren't really following the characters of these movies. It honestly skips the part of a lot of war movies that honestly feel a little bit manufactured if they're done poorly, where you never hear like these characters say like, "Oh man, back home, I'm waiting to go see my wife," or I'm waiting to go see my parents again," or "Oh man, look at my kid, he's this tall now." This movie doesn't have any of that because it is just focused on showing what a war-torn country is like, and what it is like for the soldiers that have to serve in that country, and how just brutal and miserable it is. This movie might have actually been able to get away with casting real life soldiers in the part, but this movie honestly has a very big cast. And I think it definitely benefits from that because it allows all these soldiers to be played by people that know how to make you feel invested and know how to make you feel like you are truly living with these soldiers. Just to run down the names of everyone that plays soldiers. Will Poulter's in this movie. Cosmo Jarvis from Shogun, Michael Gandolfini, and Cooper Hoffman, the sons of James Gandolfini, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. You have Joseph Quinn. You have Charles Melton. You have D'Faro Wunatai, who is in I believe Reservation Dogs. I haven't seen that show, but I've heard very good things. They all play these soldiers, and they add so much life to these characters, even though they're given like very little dialogue. You're just watching them live their lives, and eventually you're watching them sort of like panic in the situation of trying to stay alive and trying to protect their other soldiers to make sure they're okay. And it is so incredibly affecting. I think the number one thing Alex Garland brought to this movie, he doesn't try to make it feel like super cinematic. He doesn't try to make this feel like Hollywoodified. For example, this movie has zero score, no music accompanies this film. So it really lets you sit in with like all the little atmospheric sounds, whether it's just water dripping, or whether you're watching just like guns getting reloaded, or whether you're watching just like radar beeping. And it's so effective there. And then when gunshots start firing, it makes it feel even more loud. When characters start bleeding out, you hear what it sounds like to hear someone die. And it just feels so incredibly intense with how it's portrayed. And I do think that is also helped by the fact that Ray Mendoza, the military supervisor, was put on to the directing chair. So he does add that extra layer of authenticity to this film. And I think that's super impactful. Yeah, this is a movie, if you're someone that when you go into films, you want a clear narrative, you want your characters to have a clear goal, you might not have that. Like, yes, they have the goal of surviving, but you don't really get to know any of these characters by name or what they're trying to do. Something I do find that is fun is a lot of the characters that seem like that seem very like calm and stalwart at the beginning start to panic as the shit starts to hit the fan even more. Like, I think Will Poulter gives such an incredible performance as someone that seems very much like, okay, he's done a few tours, he knows how to lead these soldiers, but the second like he starts realizing like, oh my gosh, all of us could die, he starts to panic more and more. And I think he does a great job. Joseph Quinn is excellent. Charles Melton is kind of like the anchor of this film, and he is the one that like portrays like the nice, like steady, like calmly, like more calm than other leaders, and I think Charles Melton does a great job at playing that. But yeah, this is a movie like it barely even has like an ending. Like, when I was watching this movie, I thought we had maybe like 20 minutes left, and the movie just ends with our characters just sort of like running. And I was like, whoa, is this how we're ending? Then I was like, oh no, that is war. Like it is our, as audience members, we are done watching these characters live, but their lives keep going on, and it just shows you how miserable it truly must be to be out in the battlefield. And I think all the filmmakers and the cast did a phenomenal job at portraying that. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going very high. This is one of the best movies of the year, and I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. Alex Garland just continues to show that I think he's one of the most consistent directors in Hollywood, and I just think he has an ability to really distill a movie down to its bare bones and show what's important to a film to keep you invested. I think he does a good, like Ex Machina is still probably my favorite film by his, but this might be my second favorite. This is one of the better war movies I've seen in a while, and I think it does such a good job at what it's trying to capture. That is showing how much of a hellish life it must be to be a soldier out in these battlefields and fight what seems like an unwinnable battle. But yeah, that does bring us to the end of tonight's show. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing Sinners, the new Ryan Coogler movie with Michael B. Jordan. Super excited for that, as well as the remake of The Wedding Banquet with Bowen Yang. Very excited to talk about those movies with all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.